right. Welcome to this episode of the Joyful Scaling Podcast. Today, we're talking about confidence and overcoming adversity. Super important topics for us ladies. And I'm so blessed to be interviewing a truly extraordinary woman, Heather Monahan. Let me tell you a little bit about her. I mean, this could go on forever, but I do want to tell you a little bit about her. She's a business expert, a TED Talk speaker, ranked among the top 40 female keynote speakers last year. She's a best-selling author of Confidence Creator. I always have this nearby, which Forbes ranked in the top 5 books for women. And she's the host of the Creating Confidence podcast. She's got a new book that's available now for pre-order. It's amazing. It's called Overcome Your Villains: Mastering Your Beliefs, Actions, and Knowledge to Conquer Any Adversity. Huge congrats to you, Heather, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a joy. So listen, I want to start with something a little bit to make sure the ladies know you. I watched your TED Talk. It was powerful. And having been in corporate myself, I could so relate to some of the experiences you talk about. You're in media and advertising for 2 decades. You were one of only a handful of C-level female executives in media, an amazing accomplishment. But then something happened that changed everything. And I think that's kind of a great setup as we talk about the new book. So would you share a little bit of that story with us?
Sure. I had been in the same company for 14 years, had been promoted 3 times, and I had just been named one of the most influential women in radio 3 weeks earlier. And during that time, the CEO that had been advocating for me and promoting me became ill, and he elevated his daughter to replace him, and she fired me immediately.
Wow. It's crazy. And you had talked about in the TED Talk that she was actually bullying, like she had this like harassing tone. And to me, that's always, it never ceases to amaze me. And I've experienced it having been in corporate myself. It's unfortunate that happens. But your new book, Overcoming Your Villains, goes deep on how to overcome the negative people and the challenges that we all encounter. And I saw that you devised a powerful 3-step process to overcome any adversity in your life. I would love you to share those steps with us.
Sure. It's called my back process, and it's really around the beliefs that you hold, the actions that you take, and the knowledge that you surround yourself with. So, for example, it can be used in any challenging situation. For me, getting fired is just a great example of, when I got fired, I thought I had lost everything. When you apply the back process to it, the first step is to deconstruct the belief to the most simplistic fact that is actually there. And oftentimes you'll find there is no fact there. For me, I found that I didn't lose everything. I lost one thing, and that was a paycheck. So once you deconstruct that belief down to the actual fact, if there is fact there, often there's not. But for me, it made it a lot more palatable that, wait a minute, I didn't lose everything. Now, the next thing I ask myself is, what action step can I take to move myself forward? That's the second part of the process. So for me, what I did was I posted, I've just been fired. If I've ever helped you, I need to hear from you now. That was my action step. And that post went viral and reached hundreds of thousands of people. And it reached Froggy from the Elvis Duran show, who tweeted at me, hey, if I can help you in any way, let me know. I tweeted right back, yes, get me on the show. I didn't know what I would talk about. I just knew that I need more opportunity, and a way to reach more opportunity is to speak with and interface with people you don't currently know. So I flew to New York, went on the show. Halfway through the interview, Elvis says, well, obviously you're writing a book. And he was very confident in that. And obviously Elvis Duran's one of the largest radio hosts in the world. And so hearing that from someone who had been where I want to go, who had reached a level of success that I currently wasn't experiencing, I thought, wow, this has got to be true. So I agreed and I accepted that. I said, yes, you're right. I am writing a book. And I jumped on a plane and Googled, how do you write a book? And found out that it's simple, right? It's just sitting down and writing. So, I didn't overthink it. I surrounded myself with the knowledge that supported me, which was people like Elvis Duran, people who have been to the places that I actually want to go. And the next thing you know, Confidence Creator was done and out in the world in just a few months.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this back. And that's so easy to remember: belief, action, knowledge. Why do you think, and obviously with your book about confidence and creating confidence for yourself, why in your experience is it so hard for us ladies to really be confident in all that we've done? I mean, I know experienced ladies that have been in corporate for decades, and there is so much fear.
Yeah, I think everybody has different reasons, right? I don't believe there's a one, solution answer for everyone. For me, I had an incredibly negative person constantly trying to sabotage me, working side by side with me for years. That reason held back my confidence. There's no doubt, right? And when that woman thought she fired me that day, I actually fired my number one villain from my life, and my confidence took off. So that was, there was a very glaring reason for me. That's not the case for everybody. Other people don't see themselves through the same lens the rest of the world sees them through. Other people are sometimes running a negative self-talk tape in their head and hanging on to mistakes in the past, and they continue to repeat them. So people really, I offer a number of different possibilities in regards to what the confidence holdbacks could be in my first book. But I don't believe there's just a one and done, like play this one tape every day and the next thing you know, you're going to have confidence. There really is a lot more to look at and dig into in individuals, and it's going to be different for every person.
I love that. What you just said, I don't believe in like just one size fits all, and I can talk myself into confidence. And so what do you think about affirmations? Do you think they're effective?
Yeah, I have a whole chapter in my first book about affirmations and how I leverage those to help me during really low times. Again, I had a really negative person in my life that was putting me down, treating me poorly. I wasn't really going to gain confidence until I got that person out of my life. However, I took plenty of steps along the way trying to create that confidence internally that I still think were great steps to take, but there was no real pivotal change or move in my confidence until that woman was eradicated from my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the best thing that ever could have happened, right? Looking back.
Yeah, and anyone that has toxic people in their life, things won't ultimately change for you in a big way until you remove those people.
Mm-hmm. And so how can you do that? Like, let's say a situation where, I was a single mom. I know you were a single mom, where you need that paycheck, and there is fear around that. And there is this toxic relationship with one or more people at work. Can you talk us through some beginning steps just to even, first of all, identify it as toxic and admit it? And secondly, what we can do to kind of get that to the next place?
Well, journaling is a great way to become self-aware, right? Because the key is to listen to your own voice. If you're in a toxic situation or not. Maybe you try to talk yourself out of it, but you can get real with yourself in your journal. And as you begin to see patterns and I don't like going to work, I don't like dealing with this person, it's typically an indicator something's wrong there. So once you've identified it, the key is, how do I get out of this? And maybe you're in a huge company and you can change departments. So explore that route first, right? If that's something that you're interested in, explore whatever options there are right in front of you. But for someone like me, there wasn't another department to go to. I was going to need to leave that company. So to anyone in a situation like that, where you don't have another department to go to, you're locked with this villain in your life, as long as you're at that company, the key is to get out of that company. So update your resume, get reviews and recommendations from all of your customers, from your peers, from past leaders, and start conversations with people you don't know outside of your company, outside of your business, outside of your current bubble, so that you can start finding what exists and how your unique value proposition and skills can make you revenue somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to talk about that transition from, all those years in the corporate. You were the chief revenue officer, and now all of a sudden you're on the street, so to speak. So, but you're that kind of woman that was like, okay, I'm down for the moment, but I'm not going to stay down. What was that transition like to entrepreneurship?
Well, my entire career, I was 43 when I got fired. So for 23 years, I'd been in corporate America. It's all I knew. I'd never been in any type of entrepreneurial program or coaching or business ever. So like anything, you start over as a rookie. I went from being an expert in one industry to being a rookie overnight. And, when you're a rookie, I remember when I began in sales, when I was in my early 20s, I was a rookie. I had no idea, what the path or the customer journey looked like or how to get repeat business. I had to figure it out along the way. So I would say it's very similar. I was just doing it much later in life and realizing I didn't know how to write a book. I didn't know how to publish a book. I didn't know how to sell a book. I didn't know how to launch a speaking. I didn't know how to do any of those things. I just had to figure it out, just the same way I remember looking back when I started in sales. It really was no different.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, another issue you talk about in your new book is discovering your worth. And I'm all about that too. I mean, especially in entrepreneurship. And really, if you're trying to get up the corporate ladder, wherever you're doing, you need to own your worth. Because if you don't think you're worthwhile, certainly your boss won't either. So can you talk a little bit about that? How is it that we can discover our worth?
One of the ways that I've learned to do that as an entrepreneur is through baby steps, right? My first speaking engagement was not for a lot of money, but I didn't know where I would rank within a roster of talent that I've never run with before, right? It was all new. Like I said, I had 20 something years in one business I was an expert in. I knew how I stacked against everybody. I knew my worth in that arena. When you begin somewhere anew, you don't know where you fit in yet. So you just have to push forward and try. So I undervalued my speaking at first, not knowing what that model looked like, what that pricing looked like, and what the opportunity or upside was. But at the same time, the first time you get paid in a new business, in a new arena, that's proof of concept that you have something there. There's value there. So each time I would get paid, even though it might not have been for the right amount of money, I was learning, oh, there is value here. And every time I would speak, I would ask for reviews and recommendations of my work. And the more you turn your customers and clients into evangelists for you and advocates for you, the more you ask for that feedback and hear what's working, what's landing, what's going really well, the more you build momentum for yourself. And then that's how you start landing on bigger stages or bigger opportunities, or, you land bigger clients in whatever business that you're in. You've got to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm. What would be your best advice to a woman that's listening right now in that spot where, maybe because of COVID or who knows what, she is out of a job and she doesn't know what to do next? What would be your best advice?
Take messy action, right? Like none of it's pretty. No one's coming to save you. You've got to save yourself. So, taking action is critical. And that's why the whole process starts with beliefs first. Figure out what belief that you're holding that's holding you back, because you're sitting there right now probably doing nothing. That's not the answer. Ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? What belief am I holding on to? I can't get a job. I don't know how to make money, whatever it is, and deconstruct it only to fact. What fact actually lies there? None. Right? Who says you can't get a job? Who said you can't make money? No one. Only you know what's possible and what potential you have within you. So once you've deconstructed a belief, take action and think to yourself, who is there in my life I can reach out to? Who have I not post about it like I did on social media? I'm looking for work. I'm in need of help. Who here can help me? People say, well, you could do that, but I can't. Really? When I did it, people told me that I was crazy, that I shouldn't be sharing that I was, terminated. And I decided to reframe it and see it as in good company. I listened to others' limiting beliefs and I listened to what did not work for them. And I still moved forward with my plan. And I'm so grateful I did that. I created a white space just because, most people don't advertise they get fired. That's like my calling card now, is that getting fired is a great thing. It's a pivotal moment in your life to set yourself up for a trajectory that you didn't even know existed. It's really exciting. I don't know a lot of people that take that look. So think to yourself, what is different, unique about me? How can I take this moment in time that I'm not working and leverage it to make me special, unique, and different? And where can I solve problems for people that I can actually be paid for my skill set?
Wow. I love so much of that. And I just want to emphasize some of the things we talked about. Authenticity. I always tell my clients, look, there's never been a better time when you can totally be you. You can write as you talk. You don't have to worry about formality. Your brand can be whatever it is. So lean in on that, ladies listening. The authenticity piece is huge. I want to talk a little bit about not caring so much about what everybody else thinks, or, how you can shut that out. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on that point? Because I know so many women grapple with this idea of, I can't go on video because I don't look right, or I'm too old, or I'm too whatever. How can we get over that hurdle of caring so much about what other people think?
Well, I mean, the easiest way is if you're a parent, right? And you think to yourself, I'm leading my child every day. Does leadership look like not doing things because I'm afraid of what other people will think? Well, then realize that's who you're raising in the next room, right? You're going to raise a child that's constantly going to be looking outside of himself or herself for approval from others. Is that the child you want to raise? Is that what you think is going to be helpful? No. I mean, I don't know any mother that would say, oh yeah, I want my kid to always look outside of themselves for approval. No. So the more, anytime I've come to a crossroads, I think through that lens of my child, right? If I lay down and give up, my child's going to spend a lifetime of laying down and give up. That's what he'll learn, from me. So looking it through that lens of how am I truly leading my family and my innermost circle? And we all have the choice to show up as a leader every day. You got the job, right? People are looking up to you, whether you want it or not. It's the role that you're in. What's that next move look like for you as a leader? And to me, that lens is it's so clear once I look through it. It's simple. Maybe some people are going to say it's not easy. It may, if success was easy, everybody would have it. There's nothing that's been easy about my journey to find success in any career that I've been in, because most people will give up before they find it. It's up to the 3% that refuses to give up and keeps getting up.
Yeah, that's key. That's key. And I love your point. Parenting is such sanctifying work. And it's great to really get to know you and step into that leadership role. I love that. Tell me about finding the villains in your life, because I know many women grappling with relational issues, and I'm talking about outside of work. And I know your book doesn't just talk about work. It talks about villains in your life, and you may be married to one, right? You may have a significant relationship with that. How I know for many that's difficult to call that person a villain, and maybe I'm overstating it, but I would just love kind of your take on that, identifying the villains. And then I love how you say how to leapfrog right over them.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, here's the thing. Someone can be my villain. It doesn't mean they're a villain to other people. It just when they're, how they interface with me, that's how I feel. The woman that fired me was a villain in my life. I'm sure her husband doesn't see her as a villain, right? And that's okay. It doesn't mean someone's a bad person. It means they're bad for you, right? That means that they're not a fit for you. And that is absolutely fine. You're not going to be a fit for everyone, and everyone's not going to be a fit for you. But you have to be willing to take a look at your life and say, how do I feel when I interface with this person, and how do I feel when I walk away? If you're feeling constantly drained, if you're second guessing yourself after you walk away from that person, there's a good chance that person's a villain in your life. They're not helping you achieve your goals, grow in a positive fashion and in a supportive fashion. They may be giving you, disparaging looks, talking behind your back. Who knows what things they're doing to trigger your buttons, but those aren't your people. And so once you've identified it, get honest with yourself. You don't need to share it with anybody else, just with yourself. And you can do that just through your daily interactions, rating. How do I feel when I come out of that meeting? How do I feel when I get home from work? Do I feel worse when I'm getting home than I am, and I'm happier at work? Wait a minute, what's going on here, right? Let's start asking yourself those questions and identifying who are the people that are sucking your energy out and leaving you feeling less than when you walk away.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So in your opinion, and I know these are labels, right? The villain, but is there a way that a villain could turn into not a hero, but not the villain? Like, do you think there is a way, or in your opinion, are like villains, they're just kind of bad or just not compatible with you?
No, I mean, I've seen it happen in my own life. When I was younger in business, I was not a strong communicator at different points in my career. When I was younger, I was afraid to let people know if I didn't like something, because I'd be, fire her, or she's not part of the team. So I would keep my opinions to myself. I was my own villain at that point in time. I wasn't letting it be known what I needed, what I thought. And so as I grew and advanced in business, I started to show up and say, hang on a second, that doesn't work for me. Let's talk about a different way that we can work this out together. And as I would begin to approach things in a more vocal way, being honest about how I felt, suddenly people who I thought, oh, that person, I don't like being around them, I don't like how they treat me, they began to change because I spoke up and let them know it was a problem. They didn't, you're always teaching people how to treat you. And if you're not sharing what you need or want or don't want, it's really not fair to the other people. A true villain is someone that you shared and spoken up to say, you know what, this doesn't work for me. I'm sending you emails, you're ignoring me. You're not inviting me to meetings that I know I'm supposed to be a part of. Is there a problem here? What am I missing? Why are you treating me like this? These are conversations I had with my peer that ended up becoming my boss and firing me. And this person would smile and say, I have no idea what you're talking about, right? That when someone's ignoring your needs, wants, and truly doesn't care, then that person probably is a villain in your life.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. One thing you said before, and I always pick out this word because it's a buzzword for me, choice or decision. And so, in your book, you're talking about how to rebuild your confidence so you can find success on your own terms. So I guess it goes back to the same issue. And the reason I bring this up is because I work only with women. And I know that women, we're so hard on ourselves. And sometimes like we say, I think I want this, but it's hard to commit. So for those like that say, you know what, I have my business to 6 figures. Now I'm switching to the entrepreneur side. I have a 6-figure business, but I want to scale. And they know that to get there, they have to decide certain things. Number one, that's what they're going for. And number two, that they're going to do things and act like that multi-6-figure or 7-figure entrepreneur. So can you help us about how do we even get the confidence to make those tough decisions and commitments?
For me, I reverse engineer. So when I wanted to write my second book, but I couldn't bring myself to really do it, I just put it on social media. My new book's coming out in the next year, right? So I say I'm doing something before I really got myself to do it. And what I do is I hold myself accountable by doing that, because people in my community will come to me generally interested, cheering me on. Hey, what's it about? What's that? What's the deadline? What's the launch date? Like, who are you doing it with? And the more specific and granular you get in a conversation like that, the more truly committed you become. So if someone wants to go to that next level, put it out there, put your goals out there, right? Start writing them down the same way you would a grocery list, but write them down for your goals. Give yourself a timeline, a deadline, hold yourself accountable. Pick people in your life that do cheer you on, that are ahead of you in business, and say, hey, I'd love it if you could check in with me once a week for 2 minutes just to ask me where I'm at on this goal. Here's the specifics. Here's the deadline. Here's what I'm going for. As you know that you're going to have to report in and answer to someone who you care about, who you respect, you're going to push yourself a little harder to make it happen.
That's beautiful. I love that tangible action step. That's really great. Okay. What's in your future, Heather? What does the next 5 years look like?
I don't think anyone can predict the next 5 years after what I've learned from 2 things. One, getting fired, right? Because if someone had said to me when I was 43 and I was a chief revenue officer, what does 5 years look like? I'd say I'd be CEO of a media company, hands down. I didn't know I'd get fired and have an 18-month non-compete to the industry, and that whole concept disappeared overnight. So I do. And then the pandemic has changed everything so much so I don't think there is a 5-year plan. I really have learned to live in the moment and say, capitalize on and take advantage of the opportunities that are present and be open to the possibilities of what can come next. We don't know if a next global pandemic is coming again in a year. I do know I'll be able to move a lot faster and be open to possibilities versus where I was last time, because we went through it one time, right? So we'll all go through it in a much stronger, more resilient, and we'll be fast to make those adjustments. But for me, I don't look at the future that way anymore. I definitely look at, I'm sure I'll be working for myself. I'm sure I'll be doing something exciting where I get to help people and drive revenue for my business. I'm not sure exactly what that could look like. I could have a skincare line. I could have my own TV show. I've still been trying to get my first book made into a movie. I could have written 5 books by then. I have no idea. All of those things are possibilities, or I could drop everything and just be doing my podcast, right? Like if I find out somehow we want you to do a show a day and this needs to become your full-time focus, I love doing my podcast. That could happen too. So I just believe stay open to pushing yourself to take massive action, step into fear on the regular, stay true to what your why is and who you are, and great things will keep happening.
Amen. I love it. Nothing is impossible. All right. Last question. This is called the Joyful Scaling Podcast. I want you to tell us what brings you joy in your business.
I love the DMs I get from people every single day. I turn my computer on. I get the most amazing messages, whether it be someone just read my book or someone listened to an episode on one of my shows, or even just a post, something that I said that changed things for them. Seeing how, even when you don't know people in real life, how you can have an impact on them because of who you are and how you show up and how vocal you are, that's another motivating factor that anytime I question myself, should I go for more? Should I do the second book? Should I put it out there? I know it's my obligation, because if you're not doing it for yourself, do it for that woman coming behind you who she hasn't reached her success yet. And she needs someone to be that role model. If you can't show up today for yourself, show up for her, because someone at some point in your life showed up for you. And I remind myself of that, anytime I question that next move.
Yeah, that is phenomenal motivation. Well, let's end, this is going to be released tomorrow. And so you are in, kind of promo mode. So I would love for you to tell our listeners about the special opportunity you have when they pre-order it.
Oh, yeah. So one of the things my publisher asked me to do was to sell 7,000 books before my launch date, which is November 9th. And the first thing I said to myself is, if I want people to do something, I need to give them an incentive to do it, right? So same way you would incentivize a sales team, incentivize a customer, I'm saying I want to incentivize anyone that would be able to benefit from my book. So if you can benefit from a 3-step process to overcoming challenges in your life, you need my book. It's not out till November 9th, but when you go to overcomeyourvillains.com right now, you put in your pre-order code from wherever you want to order books. The book is available everywhere. You instantly download my $500 bonus pack for free. It's my $299 confidence video course. It's my Overcome Your Villains workbook that you get started on now. It's advanced chapter of the book that you can read before anybody else, and so many other things. And if you want to go to the next level, you can join the VIP book launch team. We meet live on Zoom every Monday, and I answer everybody's questions live on the call.
Yes. And I was there on Monday, and it's such an uplifting, beautiful community of people who are doing big things, have big dreams, and we're supporting each other in that. So thank you, Heather, for allowing me to be a part of it. And thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Awesome. Ladies, if you've enjoyed this episode, please do take advantage of this opportunity, overcomeyourvillains.com. And if you wouldn't mind leaving a rating and a review, we would very much appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we will see you next time.